Tonight, looking for a deal to avert another garbage strike and keep rec centers open. With an hour to go until deadline, talks continue between the city and the union representing 5,000 outside workers. Plus,
governments don't always do things perfectly, as you know.
yours to rediscover. Ontario is temporarily switching back to its old license plates while it tries to fix its new blue ones. And
this is probably the last time I'm ever going to hold a stick like this.
David Ayres gets to hold his record-setting goalie stick for one last time as it officially gets added to the Hockey Hall of Fame. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. They're still talking at this hour. The City of Toronto and the union representing the city's outside workers continue to negotiate with the help of a mediator. Let's go live to our Kelda Yoon at the Doubletree Hotel. That's just next to City Hall, and that's where reporters are waiting for any word on the status of the talks. Kelda?
That's right, Mike. We've been waiting for a couple hours now. We are getting very close to that deadline. You can see behind me all the mics on the table there. We are waiting for an update. We haven't received one yet. We don't know whether talks have broken down, whether they are close to a deal, whether they plan to extend the talks once again. Now, both sides have agreed not to speak publicly, not to speak to the media as they work with a mediator to reach a resolution. Now, the talks are continuing here at the Doubletree Hilton as we inch closer to that 12:01 deadline. We know both sides would like to avoid a strike or lockout. The city's outside workers, they've been without a contract since December 31st. The union said job security, that is the main sticking point. It says the city is backing away from a clause in their last contract which protected senior employees, those are ones with 15 years experience or more, from being replaced by contracted workers. But that agreement, that expired at the end of 2019, meaning no one who reaches the milestone now will get the same protection. So that is the main sticking point as we know it. About 5,000 workers belong to QP Local 416. A possible work stoppage could have major consequences. The garbage pickup will be suspended for residents west of Yonge. Those on the west of Yonge. Those on the east side may also see delays due to picketing at collection stations. Meanwhile, city-run recreation centers and skating rinks, those would be closed. City-run programs like camps and drop-ins also suspended. City council meetings would be canceled. Now, all this remains to be seen. We are still waiting for an update with less than an hour to go to that deadline. Now, earlier this week, both sides agreed to extend the strike deadline for 48 hours. Both expressed optimism that a deal would be reached. So we are still waiting to see if that will be the case. I'll send it back to you, Mike.
Okay, thanks for following it, Kelda, and we'll break in, of course, if we have any development in the next half hour.
Yeah.
And another developing story we are following just moments ago, Ontario confirming an 8th case of COVID-19. A man in his 80s who'd recently visited Egypt was tested at Scarborough General and sent home in self-isolation. Earlier today, we learned of a 7th case, a man in his 50s who went to Sunnybrook 2 days after a recent trip to Iran. He, too, is in self-isolation at home. Now, officials say the risk of contracting the virus here in Ontario is low, but around the world, the number of infections is steadily rising. Today, the World Health Organization issued a new warning and raised its level of alarm.
And we have now increased our assessment of the risk of spread and the risk of impact of COVID-19 to very high at global level.
Nigeria, Mexico, Lithuania, Belarus, the Netherlands, and New Zealand all announcing their first cases today. And for the first time, South Korea's number of new infections surpassed China's. In fact, China reported its lowest number of new cases in a 24-hour period. Much of the spread around the world now is being traced back to outbreak zones in Italy and Iran. The WHO says nations must prepare for further spread now and adopt aggressive containment measures before it's too late to prevent a pandemic. Now, one problem health officials here are facing is a shortage of medical masks. Farah Morali spoke with one local doctor who says she just can't order any new ones.
Okay, so I'm just walking to my...
This is one of the last boxes of any masks Dr. Ayres Gorfinkel has in her entire office.
This is kind of worth its weight in gold at this point because try as we might, we cannot get this anywhere in the city.
These N95 masks are ones she uses for personal protection, but she's completely out of basic surgical masks, the ones her office hands out to sick patients.
As of 2 weeks ago, we ran out of masks, and it's a terrible thing. So we've got to really be on our toes to try to get those patients in who have infections, and make sure that we're not exposing vulnerable patients to those others.
She's tried for weeks to get more, but nothing.
This is a first, right? We've never ever heard those words from a medical supplier that we cannot give you something as simple as masks.
It's not just medical supply stores that are out, it's everyone else too. We called more than a dozen pharmacies in Toronto and Mississauga today. No one had any, and most didn't even know when they'd be getting more. Part of the problem, people keep buying masks out of fear.
In the general public, there really is no reason for people to be walking around right now in Canada wearing masks to try and protect themselves.
That message has been repeated by health officials, but people, it seems, aren't listening, and they may actually be doing more harm than good.
I think that while people understand at the time, and that can kind of alleviate the fears when they hear, oh, I don't need to wear a mask right now, anytime something is changed, it seems to be getting that fear back up, and they're kind of looking for ways to protect themselves.
As for Dr. Gorfinkel, her office is trying to balance scheduling patients, but it's not easy.
We try to triage them so that we try to have them come in when other patients who may be at risk are not going to be exposed to them. But you know how it is. When you're sick, what do? You go to a doctor's office.
We reached out to the Ministry of Health for comment on this. They did not return our messages. I did, however, manage to speak to the president of the Ontario Medical Association. What he said is that they are aware of these shortages. They're encouraging doctors and other medical professionals to reach out to them, and they can step in and supply these masks where needed. But for now, it's clear that this problem is not going away anytime soon. Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
A private jet went up in flames last night at Buttonville Airport. It wasn't a crash. Police say the plane hadn't even been flown for some time. It happened around 11:30. Now, the plane was a Dassault Falcon 50 corporate jet. Investigators consider the fire suspicious, especially since they found a hole cut in a nearby chain link fence, some fresh tracks in the snow, and an empty jerry can at the base of the jet's stairs.
I have seen some of the overhead shots. It looks like that plane was tucked right back, and it looks like it had been there for quite some time before this incident happened. We do believe this is a criminal incident. We do believe that the fire was intentionally set.
Anyone with information is asked to call York Police. A two-car crash this morning just north of Yonge and Sheppard injured 3 pedestrians after the cars veered off the road. It happened just after 8 o'clock this morning. Police say one of the vehicles rolled over and struck a building, rupturing a gas line. 2 of the pedestrians who were hit suffered serious injuries but are expected to survive. The other person had minor injuries. And another pedestrian accident about an hour earlier downtown. A driver struck a man at the corner of King and Sherbourne. Paramedics took him to hospital with head injuries. At first, it appeared as though he was getting off of a streetcar at the time. But the TTC later said that wasn't the case. A TTC driver did witness, though, what happened. There's another twist tonight in the saga surrounding the new Ontario license plates. We're now going back to the old white ones, at least temporarily, while the province fixes the problems with the new ones. Our Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley has more.
When they unveiled the government's new license plate design last year, Doug Ford's cabinet ministers were all smiles. More than 200,000 of these plates have been produced. Now all of them are headed for recycling.
Look, you can read that one, but what the is that?
The province has halted production of the flawed blue plates, difficult to read in the dark, but will keep handing them out to drivers until next Wednesday.
Knowingly continuing to distribute these problematic plates for another week is not acceptable.
On Thursday, the province will switch to distributing leftover stock of the old white plates, the ones with the Yours to Discover motto. That continues until the fixed version of the new plates becomes available, expected on March 16th. The government says there will be no cost to taxpayers, but for the Progressive Conservatives,
a place to grow.
The license plate saga might mean a political cost.
I think that there are often things that happen that governments don't always do things perfectly, as you know. And when things turn up that are problematic, that you need to say so.
With no other minister available to comment on plates today, reporters questioned the Deputy Premier.
The important thing is to acknowledge it, fix it, and then move on.
71,000 Ontario drivers were issued the blue plates this month. All will get replacements. This is one of the prototype plates the government gave reporters last year when the new design was first unveiled. Senior government officials tell me they do not know whether the replacement plates will retain any of these design features, including the blue background. That was criticized from the start for being the color of the Progressive Conservative Party. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
And the province is bringing in new measures aimed at stopping young people from vaping. Earlier this year, Ontario banned the advertising of vaping products in convenience stores and gas stations. Now it's planning to limit flavors and nicotine levels.
One thing has become abundantly clear. We need to do more. We will be vigilant in our monitoring of these shops.
If passed, the province's new rules would restrict the sale of flavored vape products to specialty stores that only serve people 19 and older. The only exemptions, menthol, mint, and tobacco flavor. The province also wants to restrict the sale of high nicotine content as well. Now, Ontario won't be following the lead of Alberta or BC in instituting a provincial tax. The health minister says she'd prefer Ottawa take the lead and bring in a federal tax instead. Today's announcement is being welcomed by organizations who have been pushing for these changes. Colette Kennedy's here with her first look at the forecast. After all that snow today, now we just have to contend with blowing snow and snow squalls.
That's just how it goes, right, Mike? We get the main system moving away, but it dumped all this snow, and with strong winds in its wake, it means we have that snow drifting around, reducing visibility, so blowing snow issues, and then also the winds over the relatively warmer waters of the lakes, and we get into the snow squalls. So there are various watches and warnings that are in place, and they've been moving around a little bit as the winds are from the west and then from the northwest and then back towards the west. But you definitely want to check your travel conditions before you're heading out. I know it's late, but say you're a shift worker, you work overnight or early tomorrow morning, just be very, very mindful and take it easy and allow some extra time. We have lots of areas with reduced visibility. Snow squalls will continue even into tomorrow, and at times some of those bursts make their way into the GTA. And then as we get towards the weekend, we'll finally see a warm up, but it's really not till about Sunday. So you can see they're almost like fingers coming across the lake, and the strong winds, it's enough of a fetch that they do come right on down across towards the Niagara region, over through the GTA and beyond, and they're not really going to back off till we see those winds easing into Saturday. So they're a little bit better tomorrow, but still gusty conditions. The temperature tonight, -6 to -7 we'll be seeing for our lows, and then tomorrow afternoon, -3 to -4 for our highs.
Okay, thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
The weather update is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
First time I've seen the stick since Saturday night, so to be able to put it in here is unreal.
In less than a week, he went from being a Zamboni driver to an NHL goalie and finally to the Hockey Hall of Fame. David Ayres' stick was placed there today. Highlights from the ceremony coming up. After weeks of canceled trains, Via Rail says it should have partial service back on most of its routes out of Toronto by early next week. That means many travelers are still facing a few more days of disruption. Philip Lishanik has more.
Yesterday, protesters attempted to block the rails with burning pallets on the tracks through the Tyendinaga Mohawk territory near Belleville. Yet trains continued to roll. But so far, it's just for freight and not people. Those traveling east this weekend are stuck with their second choice.
I probably would have rather taken the train than the bus. I would have taken the train just to be faster.
It is disappointing since a train trip is much more comfortable than the bus.
This traveler canceled her train ticket up to Ottawa.
And they don't know about the return trip, so I decided to cancel both ways and rebook on Greyhound.
And while the tracks are now cleared, Via Rail says train service between Toronto and Ottawa and Toronto and Montreal will still be canceled until at least the end of day Sunday. But it's not as simple as flicking a switch, with a large number of freight trains currently backlogged on the network. CN owns the tracks, so Via Rail needs to wait for their okay before resuming service. And that could take several days. Via now says Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal service should be fully restored by Tuesday. Philip Lishanik, CBC News, Toronto.
The Hockey Hall of Fame added a new piece to its collection today. Fans can now go and see the stick that Zamboni driver turned goaltender David Ayres used last Saturday night when he came in as an emergency backup. Our Greg Ross was with him as he held that stick for one final time.
It's a moment David Ayres had only dreamed of but never thought would become reality.
For me to have a small little piece of something that I've done in here is unbelievable.
The stick Ayres used last Saturday night while helping the Carolina Hurricanes beat the Leafs now lives at the Hockey Hall of Fame, and Ayres was there to welcome it to its new home.
This is the first time I've seen the stick since Saturday night, so to be able to put it in here is unreal.
He just got back to Toronto after a whirlwind trip to the U.S. that started in New York with a media tour.
Oh, ow! Oh, God, I pulled my hamstring. I don't think I can finish the monologue. Oh, no.
Don't worry, Steven, I got you! And ended in North Carolina, where Ayres was a special guest at a Hurricanes game.
I think I've just been, like you said, whisked around everywhere, and you don't get a chance to sit back and think about it.
Ayres' stick is now displayed prominently just inside the main entrance of the Hall of Fame.
Earlier on, we kind of figured out how we were going to place it so that it has the best viewing and it's not going to fall.
From now on, anyone who touches it should be wearing white gloves, even family members. Should we reach in and just touch it? I mean,
I don't know if we'd get in trouble for that.
No security here. There's nobody around. Why don't we just reach in?
I can't do it. It's like this is the shrine. You can't. Oh no, can't do it. Okay.
Just grab it and run. Go, go.
Watch. I'm so clumsy. I'm going to knock it down.
This glass is going to close. It's going to be sealed for the foreseeable future. Is there any way we can give the stick to David one last time? One last moment with the stick here. Now that is a piece of hockey history, David. Be careful with it.
Yes, yeah. This is probably the last time I'm ever going to hold a stick like this.
The gloves were a little different last time.
A lot bigger for sure. A little more awkward.
Still feel good though?
Yeah, this is great.
Remember that last save, the last seconds of the game? Do you remember holding that stick?
Right into the glove. Yeah, that was a good one.
I think we need to close the door and seal this up forever now.
We're going for it, eh?
Say goodbye, Dave.
Yeah, see ya.
Ayres says this is the first time he's been to the Hockey Hall of Fame since it's moved here to Front Street. He says he did go to the old location once, back when it was on the CNE grounds, but he says he was too young to remember anything. I have a feeling he'll never forget this trip to the Hall of Fame. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
I think Greg should get a job as a curator there. Well, there's a live shot downtown. What this camera can't show you is just how windy it's been tonight. But all that should die down overnight. Colette will be back with their long-range forecast when we come back. Well, the Toronto Raptors hosting the Charlotte Hornets tonight. Norm Powell back in the lineup after missing the last 9 games with a fractured finger. He had a great first quarter, 3 triples. But Toronto would trail for most of this game. Third quarter, the team trying to get back into the game. Powell behind the back to Pascal Siakam. Nice jam here. He had 14 points in that quarter alone, but Toronto still trailed by 7. Under 3 minutes to go in the fourth. Kyle Lowry rattles in the 3. Toronto takes its first lead since the opening quarter. But in the dying seconds, tied at 96, Rondell Hollis-Jefferson is called for the foul away from the ball. Charlotte would go on to score and go on to beat the Raptors, ultimately 99-96. Colette Kennedy's back with her extended forecast. It's going to be a very chilly wake-up Saturday morning, but at least the end of the weekend's looking a bit warmer.
Yeah, we're getting there, Mike. We're almost to the finish line in terms of the way this winter's been, where we get a shot of cold air and then it warms back up again. This has been a slightly extended period, but we are going to get into a warming trend, as you say, towards the end of the weekend, especially into next week. Our daytime high today, though, running about 5 degrees below seasonal at -4, and we're going to find the same thing with the daytime high on Saturday, a good 5 degrees below seasonal. Also, with these winds, of course, that knocks things back in terms of how it feels with our wind chills, but not only that, the extensive winds, and it gives enough of a fetch that we see those squalls that push all the way down and come well to the southeast of Lake Huron. So moving kind of back and forth through the overnight, and then they're going to kind of drop off a little bit. I mean, the winds do decrease as we get through the overnight hours and tomorrow morning, but it becomes breezy again tomorrow afternoon, a northwesterly breeze, and so still a few areas will feel the impact of some whiteout conditions, but it will be, as I say, improving, and especially as we get later Saturday and into Sunday in terms of those winds will be backing off. A new system will be moving in. It is going to bring not only some cloud cover, but we could have some light flurries to Sunday morning until that temperature can start to warm up a little bit, but there should be some sunshine in there as well. Just to look at those winds, and you can see what I mean, that tomorrow morning they're not as bad, a little stronger into southwestern Ontario, but in the afternoon they start picking up again. These are some of the winds that we're talking about that will be actually at times approaching 40 kilometers an hour in the afternoon again. And so it'll be welcome change once we really see those dropping off. Feeling like -14, but these are your temperatures. Winds are -6 tonight, few isolated flurries, and then as we go into tomorrow, those temperatures coming up, getting, hey, we'll take the freezing mark, right? Warming up if there's some sunshine in there. A cold night tonight, and we are looking at readings dropping down into the minus double digits in many cases, but feeling like -18. So not to the extreme cold weather alert stage, but getting very close to it. -4, -5 for our highs tomorrow. And then there we get into that turnaround on Sunday. 2 degrees, morning flurries certainly possible. There'll be some sunshine at times too. And then with temperatures like this and that system moving through, some light showers, maybe at night a little bit of a mix we could see into Tuesday as the temperature comes down, and then Wednesday 6 degrees. So the flip-flop will continue.
It's going to be warmer, but the sidewalks are going to be so messy with all that melting snow.
Oh, we're going to have quite a bit to deal with. You're quite right, Mike.
Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Well, the annual display of the Winter Station art pieces at Woodbine Beach proved popular with crowds every year, but one piece is apparently a little too popular for its own good. Noodle Feed was designed to have people explore, climb, and even jump on the long stuffed arms, but all that wear and tear caused the sailcloth and straw stuffing to break and leak out, so it's now been removed. Organizers admit it should have been kid tested before being placed on the beach. The remaining 3 pieces will be up until the end of March. And we do have some breaking news right now. CUPE and the City of Toronto have reached a tentative agreement that will avoid a labor disruption. Details will remain confidential until union membership and Toronto City Council have had the opportunity to review the agreement and have a vote on ratification. That is being planned for next week, but what this means is no change of service. Garbage collection will continue east of Yonge Street, and it means everyone with hockey practice or playoffs or even swimming lessons tomorrow can rest easy. The city's recreation centers will be open tomorrow as well. That's our newscast for tonight. Marivelle Tarouk will have your next local news tomorrow at 6. More details on this. Once again, as we say, breaking news, a tentative agreement reached avoiding a labor disruption by the city's outside workers. I'll see you again on Monday. Have a great weekend. Good night.